Recording. What happened to me?
I don't know.
Oh,
There you go.
there I am. It was a delay. We were on digital delay, Matt. Digital. Matt, it's Geopolitical Wednesday. We talk geopolitics every Wednesday.
I think it's been geopolitical since
forever.
I don't know. Well, lately, I mean, markets. I don't like the geopolitical all the time in the markets, but the last few years, sure, I've seen like everything is geopolitical. That's for sure.
Yeah, and again,
like I don't want to pay much attention to it, but that's what's driving the money, right? And that's what we're here for, to follow the money and figure out what's going on, and hopefully make people some money and help them with some ideas, right? That's what we're trying to do. And geopolitical, unfortunately, is what we have to follow right now. That's driving the price.
All right, Matt, I want to share because I want to give you some kudos here. This was an article, very in-depth article that you shared in the network. I'm trying to get to the top of it.
It's a deep one.
This one from the Daily Mail on this thing. But what I wanted to point out and give you some kudos was, hold on, I think I went too far now. 190,000. All right, no. There it is. There's the article. Early Tuesday, member of Russia's upper house, the Federation Council, voted unanimously to allow Putin to use military force outside the country, effectively formalizing Russia's military deployment to the rebel regions, where an 8-year conflict has killed nearly 14,000 people. And again, never really not any word over the last 8 years about how many people are getting killed in this, right? And you said it yesterday. You didn't put a number on it. You just said a whole lot of people have died already, and it's not made the news. 14,000 is the number. And I just wanted to point out a couple of things. That first of all, that this is there's a long arc to this story.
Yes.
Right. Basically, since the wall came down. Right.
Yeah.
But more recently in the last 10 years, and again, we talk about this all the time. Most of the time, if not all the time, it always comes back to money, right? And resources. Like nobody fights over the Gobi Desert, right? To save the Gobi Desert lizard. Nobody risks their lives there, right? But so on the arc of this, 2013, the old president had refused to sign an EU free trade agreement and then signed one with Putin. And now we also had the Hunter Biden and all these things happening at the same time, right? They deposed the guy, right? They put in Mr. Bean and they signed the deal with the EU. So again, there's a lot of history here, Matt.
Mr. Bean, for those that don't know, is Zelensky. He was a former comic actor in Ukraine, never had any foot in politics. And I think he won, they said, like 80% of the vote. So it would kind of be like, you know, Robin Williams all of a sudden deciding when he was alive, I'm going to be the president. And everybody said, yeah, we don't want any more of these oligarchs. We'll take Mr. Bean.
I'd rather have Mork from Ork.
Right.
But man, what I want to point out here is everybody, because the narrative has been in mainstream media. In fact, how about the one from yesterday from CBS saying that the gas prices are going to continue to escalate because Ukraine? Well, for sure, it's not going to help. But they wanted to point out that that's the only cause.
Yeah, well, and they're not going to escalate here. Like I was even talking to somebody here locally. They're like, well, is gas going to go up even more now because of Ukraine? I'm like, no, it will for Europe possibly, but you know, this isn't dry. Like we have more gas than we know what to do with if we want. Push comes to shove, we can turn it back on. It's not a big deal.
All right, Matt.
Now,
I wanted to point out
now Resident Zoo has his whole other agenda because of Burisma and because of all the shit that's been going on during his history in this country. Yeah.
Interesting. The NATO angle is very interesting, as Trump was basically saying, all you fuckers pay way more. and make the payment level into NATO.
Well, to me, the whole NATO play seems to me like it's a ploy just to pretend like we're not the aggressor now, but we're still the aggressor. I mean, without the U.S. and their weapons, NATO's nothing. So it's like put a bird on it and call it, an eagle, but it's a Twitter bird, right? It's all bullshit. The whole NATO thing is like, it's the latest maneuver in the neocon we must war all the time move, right? It's the same thing as Dick Cheney in 2001, post 9/11. It's the same exact stuff.
All right, man. I wanted to get to price discovery, and we're going to talk crops, because I think this is part of the story. And believe me, I've been looking at this. Obviously, I traded ag products in Chicago. I follow a lot of people that trade the grains, and they said like 3 weeks ago, like their radar wasn't up because it wasn't showing up in price discovery in the grains, right? I just want to give you a little backdrop of it's not just oil that they're fighting over, right? The control of Ukraine, and this little stat right here, 102 million acres of tillable land. To give you an idea of what that is, let me go to this other little gem, Iowa State University. Harvestable cropland in Iowa, 24 million acres. All right. So you got a 4x Iowa. I mean, that's just a giant amount of food. Now, we talked about, was it 9 or 12 meals to anarchy? But if you don't think that this is playing into the metric of sovereignty for the Soviet Union and a trade deal that they had with Ukraine, because it wasn't just oil and transporting gas. This is the breadbasket for Eurasia. The food is real. The food angle on this is real. Matt, bring up the wheat, and let's talk about price discovery as it's being discovered now around what looks like a more serious altercation.
Yeah, we talked about this, a bit ago. I mean, back here, last summer it looked like the good test that came in there at $6 and it went to 8.74. The little pullback that we just saw, and we mentioned this just a few weeks ago, back in January, probably was the top of that value zone. And this was before Ukraine was front and center like it is now. So to your point, the chart still said this is a good area to buy as long as we held, kind of this level right here at 728. And we're at all-time high, well, not all-time highs, but new highs on wheat that we, haven't seen in years. And this is the 610 chart. So this is a long-term chart. This is going back to 2000. If we look at the daily, you see it even further. We really are, cranking up there. And I don't know the last time we've been this high. And that's why I'm pulling back here, Bob. Yeah, we got up to 13 and Obama days again. Last time when this shit was going on, right? So we were 1347. So there's a lot of room. I mean, we're not this high here was like 950. I don't know. It's very bullish looking. That chart's it's just starting to go parabolic.
Well, for me, what it says is people are running for the hills, and protecting their supply lines and the cost of their inputs. Mm-hmm. Because of how giant that cropland is.
Yeah, people forget that Ukraine was, Stalin, when Ukraine was part of Russia. I mean, he starved out 7 million people in Ukraine. Because he stole their food and reallocated it to Moscow or wherever, and the people in Ukraine suffered.
So man, what is it? 9 meals or 12 meals anarchy? For me or you, I think it's probably 9.
I was going to say, for me, it's 9. For me, it's 4.
Well, for sure, the markets are paying attention. Yeah. And I was talking to another friend, and I said to him, my opinion on the seriousness of this has really evolved in the past 24 hours. It seemed like everything had been fairly scripted. As far as the media and what was coming out of the White House, it didn't, I don't know. But when you look at the longer term arc of this conflict, it seems to me, and we were talking about this coming in, Matt, that, if it's Russia against Ukraine and there's just sanctions, right? He takes the whole country.
Walks
but as
through.
soon as NATO and in particular U.S. F-35s get involved, I think that's the catalyst or the possible catalyst, because we're talking on the way in that F-35, it's like a Spitfire against the Red Baron in a double wing biplane.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it just does not lose.
But here's what I think. I think this is just, I agree with you. I believe that it's already, I mean, if you've read a lot of smart people that are, inclined, much more inclined than you or I in geopolitics, this is, I think it's all but done. He's going to walk. He's already acknowledged the Eastern regions to be part of, their independence, and they already kind of are aligned already with Russia, right? So those people are already, they're on board, and I think that what we're going to see here is, they're using this land grab, if you will, for the grain for a future move. So I don't think it's necessarily, it's a longer term move. I don't think we're going to see big conflict with your suggestion of F-35s for a while. I mean, we may in the future, 2025, 2027. I just don't see it happening right now. I think it's just it's a chess move. He's obviously moves out ahead of resident Zoo, because he has no idea what's going on.
And for all you just tuning in, resident Zhu is Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right, Matt, fractal out on the soybean chart so we can see.
Yeah, so the soybeans they haven't quite taken out that 1670, but again, we've been here before, and I think this is we're getting close.
We're much closer to all-time highs.
Yeah, the all-time high there was 1788, so we're getting there, and again, very parabolic, but for good cause. I mean, for just cause, rather. There's a reason why this stuff is happening, and like you said, 9 days, 12 days, whatever, 4 days, whatever your thing is, to starvation, it gets real. It gets real. And now we don't import a lot of grain from Ukraine, but Europe does, right? This is the whole
Europe
thing.
and Asia.
Yeah.
I saw another thread on how much farmland are the actual how much farmland China owns in the Ukraine. And so there's a lot of moving parts, but for sure this is decades old in the brewing.
Yeah. Again,
and if you can't, here's my thought too. I'm don't tell me, because I'm questioning the long arc of this and the obvious, what's the word that they use? Corruption. The obvious corruption that is the area. It just makes, corruption breeds corruption, Matt, and then it gets really ugly on the way out. And there is a long arc of corruption, and there's a lot of questionable alliances that have happened and gone on, and I don't know. It clouds it in my mind, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
No, it's very cloudy. And then corn, let's just look at that, since we're looking at the trifecta of the grains here. Corn is trading 679. Again, that hasn't bumped up quite as much as the others. 845 was the 2012 high there. And we're sitting, we got down here to 5, and then we're sitting at, pushing back up to that 734. So again, and this is a weekly chart again. So, these are all kind of going parabolic, and, wheat and beans being the ones that are kind of leading the way right now still, Bob. So it's pretty fascinating. It's a fascinating time. Good time to be, good time for a farmer in Illinois and Iowa to be, hedging themselves for sure.
Hedging and then just freaking out emotionally when corn goes to $9 and they're all hedged up.
But also locking, but what's wrong with locking in prices when a year ago they were $350? I don't think many farmers would have a problem, and they haven't even planted, right? So. Okay.
All right, Matt. Lee asked about the hogs. The hogs getting schmeezed today, down almost 3.5%. Another parabolic chart, and meat in particular. Hog frozen stocks are at 6% below last year. very tight stocks. Herd is smaller. And when you want to talk about a volatile and dangerous commodity to be trading, tread lightly in those hogs for sure.
Mhm.
Do
you have a chart you want to show on that?
Why don't I? And again, you know what? The one that I liked, especially when it gets this volatile, and I've talked about this before.
Let me bring up while you're bringing yours up, I'll just bring up a 610 chart just to see it. And I mean, what did we run up to last year? About $1.23. I remember this last year you were talking about it. And we're kind of doing it again. Is it a seasonality thing, or is this something more? I mean, this peaked in June. We're only in February. Are we going to see the same type of? We had a gap here, and we ran away. Are we doing the same thing here, Bob? I mean, this was February. This was February. They're both February. I'm just asking because I don't follow it like you. But this was February of 21. This runaway gap was February of 22. So are we going to go even further up here? I mean, I don't know. That sure looks like a runaway train. I wouldn't be shorting it for much.
The consensus is that there is no way there's enough hogs on the ground to meet the demand that's coming for the summer.
No pun
hogs,
intended.
unlike cattle, the peak demand in hogs is summertime. The highest prices paid for slaughtering pigs, along with the smallest kills, come in the summer also. Kind of the flip side that it is for the cattle.
Well, but here's the interesting thing when I look, I pulled back. So that was a longer term chart. Now you said we were off. So I'm like, we're off. Oh, but we were running after the gap. So this almost looks like a good place to buy down here in that 105 area.
I was going to point to the same thing. But what I wanted to bring up was and I talked about this before, is the June-July hog spread.
Okay.
Again, the summer months are the strongest, and you've actually almost missed this now. You've already got $1 in this. This is the daily June-July hog spread. Went out to $1.50 over, back into 50 cents over. So that's $400 a car in this spread. But just sometimes a much easier way to play the strength here. If hogs are going to be strong, believe me, they're going to be strong all the way through July, and July will overtake June, especially as the roll comes. And you'll see this chart go $1.50, $2 the other way, July over June, especially in an explosive bull market. So it's one that I trade routinely. I love the spread on any strength back out to $1, $1.50, $2, June over July. Because believe me, if it's strong, it's going to be strong through the summer, and the flow will bring July over the June. It happens routinely. It's one that I like playing and continue to like playing.
Okay. I like it too.
All right, Matt, what else you got? What do you got on the world of stocks? Anything jumping out at you?
Not really. I mean, we had some gaps this morning with the futures up, but that didn't last, just like the market. Then we saw everything kind of there's no real buyers in this market right now. That's what it feels like to me. I hear everybody making calls, the bottom's in, the bottom's in, and I'm not even beginning to be convinced of that. Just look at the environment that we're in. I can't believe that is the case. Now there may be counter trend moves, and you better be quick and swift and get the hell out when you make some money right now. But this is not by any means. We're not done here. We've got.
Let me just bring up the SPOO chart, and because I agree with you 100%. And we are in different times than any time before. Obviously, that's true throughout forever, right? But just looking at this chart, and I'm going to fractal out again here on the SPOOs. Daily, solidly in down momentum with sloping away potentials, right? That double bottom down at 42, whatever that is, 07. Oh no, 42.12, I think. 42.12 half. That's, you already have the potential though, falling away from that level, right? So I don't like buying that double bottom when there's not another backstop on another system. Right. We go to the 3-day, fully rolled over again, right? Lower momentum. Again, look at that falling away potential all the way down to 4,099. Fractal out again. This is what we do. We play the fractal out game weekly, fully rolled over on the weekly. Potential down to 41.33. And then you got to get all the way out to the monthly, right? Before you still have upward sloping bands, and it hasn't rolled over yet. Now we're going to roll the month as we talked about next week. It'll be very interesting to see how these bands react on further weakness. And I don't know when was the last time we actually had the last time we had a lower sloping band was the March month of 20, the full on regalia sale of COVID.
Yeah.
That was the last time.
Right. Yeah. And we had, last month in January, we had a huge rally off the low of 13.7 up to 15.2 in the early February time, right? So we had this 10% plus 12% rally in like 3 days at the end of January. Here we are again. I don't see that same setup necessarily because that was a swift. This has been really choppy up and down this month of February. Like we went and tested and made a new low in February. So we have a low in January, we have a new low in February. So if you're looking at monthly charts, right? You've got 2 new lows, but we didn't close, low on January. So here we are February with today, 2 more days this week, and then Monday. So we got 3 trading days after today. Today does not look bullish.
Let me share one more on this monthly, and it's the NASDAQ. And you're right. We took out last month's low. We're pinging right into that monthly average. And again, we have not seen downward sloping bands on a monthly chart in a fucking decade.
Right.
And I will respect this. You don't have to respect it. You can do whatever you want. But I highly respect the slope of standard deviation modeling and the bands at whatever time frame it is. And as you fractal out, it becomes more important. And I can be honest with you when I tell you that bigger money is going to pay attention to this also.
Yeah,
for sure.
They are. The longer term money is looking at the longer term charts. It's just the way it works. And here, let me just bring up something. That this is a good way, I think, for us to kind of visualize this without flipping around. I've got the SPOOs here, and we haven't tested the low still that we put in January like we did in the NASDAQ. 42.18 was that number.
I was noticing that, yes.
Yeah, so and what I have here is I have a daily chart on the left and I have an hourly on the right. So kind of shorter term, the last month on the right and longer term on the left. I don't know about you, Bob, but I mean, basically if we get through that 42.18, which was the low, I mean, again, we don't even get back into value on the daily until 3,800 on the SPOOs. So, this is where this chunk, 80% of the daily here in the last 3 years starts coming in, 3,800 down to 2,300, right? So that's where the bulk of the strong hands are. I would think over time we're going to run into that, but we have to break that low first on the SPOOs. And I just don't see with, again, the geopolitical piece coming in, being what it is. I don't see this turning on a dime and all of a sudden, business is firing again. And
exactly.
Again,
what is this? Give me the verse song lyrics of Happy Days Are Here Again. like give me that verse, Happy days are here again. Gas does not cost me my paycheck, right? Food isn't through the roof. Yeah, I just don't. I can't come up with a verse that I could actually sing with a straight face. As compared to like the government was going to print as much money as it needed to counteract the whole COVID psychosis.
Right.
So yeah, I just please help me if you're out there and you're a songwriter. Please write us just a one verse of a song that's going to paint roses and Cajun shrimp tacos for everybody.
And let's look at, just so people, again, I focus quite a bit on the NASDAQ just because of the girth and the width of it right now. So, but again, most people trade the SPOOs because they're even thicker and more complicated sometimes.
or convoluted.
But the Nasdaq right now, it just had a midday rally and it's completely reversing as we speak. So, that low that we put in Monday, again, we weren't really open Monday, but we opened up 3:00 and gapped down, right? So we made that new low, not when the markets were open. So now do we have to test that? That's what I always wonder. Do we have to test that later? So let me kind of do the same thing here with the Nasdaq. And the Nasdaq long term is on the left here. Let me bring up a shorter term on the right just so you can see it. But it's the same type of thing. Like, we made new lows on the Nasdaq, we have not on the SPOOs. So is one leading, one lagging? We don't know yet. I can't tell you. The Russell has been leading for so long, we talked about, but it's been just kind of making new lows and continuing down also. Here the Nasdaq, as it's hopefully populating here. Let me try to bring it up on the right on the shorter term chart.
Come on, technology. Come to Papa.
It's working slow right now, Bobby. But again, you see here, like, we just start to get into value on the daily at about 13,100. So you start getting into this, and that, again, you could trade all the way back to 7,700, right? You really could. But here's the Nasdaq on the 1 month view. We made a new low. We kind of hopped into the value here again this morning, yesterday also, after Biden spoke. It's so short lived. Like, nobody's hanging on and saying, I really want to, there's no big money coming in. It's traders, short-term traders went in yesterday. They went in this morning, and kind of, they bid it up overnight, and then they just sold them off again. So that's again, we're not having a gap down flush type situation. We kind of, every day everybody's buy that, BTFD, and they get shaken out every day. It's like the same thing every day, right? Until you can kind of wash it out and then find some buyers. That's the way I see bottoms happening. And I know everybody says that, but it's kind of where we are. So, we've been, this old high on the Nasdaq, we're below now. And this high was put in, when was that? April of 21. So, we're getting really close. I think 13.1 is basically where the Nasdaq was when Biden was, when he was put into office, January 21st. That number, here's February, here's late February. So yeah, right about here, so that's the top of value, right around 13,000. I would think we have to test that. Like, we have to test, we have to test the Biden presidency and or as I say, the zoo residency. So I think that's got to be, and honestly, so you want to see a guy squirm even more, politically. That's what's, if you can basically point out that nobody's making money with you in office, they already hate you. Like, how is this going to be good? How are you going to get anything done? And you got 3 years left. It's brutal.
Hey, Matt, did you, speaking of, since it's geopolitics Wednesday, how about the backtrack out of our northern neighbors and the freezing of bank accounts? They're almost like saying, sorry, we froze your, like, we didn't, can we just forget that we did that? Like, it's like, nah, I'm pretty sure people aren't going to forget that you fucking froze their bank accounts.
How would they forget that now?
It's and again, I will continue saying this until November. The November election is about affiliations to the World Economic Forum.
Yes.
By politicians and candidates over their local economies, their local constituents, and their local constituents' civil liberties. And that's just it. It's not even America first anymore. It's my neighborhood in Bend, Oregon, over Klaus's neighborhood in Schwabeville.
If you can't,
I need to know. That's my first question to a candidate. Are you familiar with Klaus Schwab? Are you familiar with the World Economic Forum? Have you ever been there to Davos? Have you ever taken money from them? Do you agree and align with their guiding principles?
Right.
These are the things I need to know.
It's true.
And they're schmeezing them as we speak. All right, Matt, you have a great day. Stay
Bobby,
warm. It's frigid. Matt's got the music going also. I can see it.
What's that?
Are you singing? You seem like you're singing a tune. You got something going on that
No. I'm just I'm covering a short that I had from 850 on the Nasdaq here. Some here as we make new lows.
Ring a ring a ding dong.
But I think it looks to me like they're pressing them lower here again. So
where they stop, nobody knows. All right, please join us at marketvitals.io. Please share and retweet. And when Matt gets back off of Twitter jail, that'll be easier for you, maybe. Plagiarize as much as you want. Be careful out there trading, Matt. Be disciplined, trade disciplined. Nothing that we say is trading advice here. Please check with your wife before you do anything.
And or your dog. Dogs know a lot about trading. So
exactly. Add Zachary.
Yep. Exactly.
All right, Matt. You have a great day. Your bartender, Lee. Your bartender. Your cab driver. Cab drivers are by far the best. New York cab drivers by far the pulse of the country. Well, it used to be anyway. It used to be when people actually went to New York.
Who wants?
All right, Matt. You have a great day.
All right, Bob. Take care.